All right, so I'm in the middle of cutting out these wings, which will connect onto my creature. And if I look back at my sketch, I'm actually using the golden eagle's talons as well. So I might be able to use the wings, the chest, and the talons. What's nice about that is a lot of that anatomy all fits together naturally. And I'll modify it with textures and colors, but I'll use the existing structure. And then all I'll have to add on is a tail. And this is the part in these kind of tutorials where you just go to a time-lapse camera of someone selecting all of this very quickly and erasing it, because there's just no shortcuts to it. After you've done the magic wand, you've done refined selection tools, there's not a whole lot else you can do except just go in and cut it out by hand. So you'll just have to bear with me. If I think it can handle a higher tolerance, then it will grab more with each selection, but then I risk it, going into the wing. So I like to keep it at around 32. It's the default, and it's roughly a tolerance of a third, so pixels within a third of similarity will be selected. And I have contiguous turned on, so only those that are touching. Otherwise, I'll get in all kinds of trouble. So far, this is working pretty well on this wing. This is where it's going to get challenging, so I'm going to go ahead and delete now. And it's challenging because that black is so similar already to the color of the feathers. Actually, something I can do to make this maybe a little bit easier is do some overall adjustments to the eagle layer. Help bring out the difference between its colors. So if I go to levels, this is the histogram. I want to optimize it. You see how dark it is? So I can definitely bring out some highlights and maybe brighten up those midtones a little bit. I'm not losing any information this way, I'm just brightening it up. And now I can play with color. I always like color balance first. I think of it as the temperature of the lighting. And I can make it a little bit warmer and redder. Not quite flamingo-ish, but in that realm. I'm actually going to push it away from green so it helps separate it from the background even more. The highlights I'm going to go warm. The shadows I'm going to go cool. Always a good idea to save your progress as you go, and maybe that will help these selections be a little more accurate and not cut into the wings quite so much. See, I'm also going to turn off, at this point I'm going to turn off the head because I don't want to accidentally erase part of the eagle that I might want to use later, just because I can't see it. Now I'm mostly worried about the edge of the wing. All that other stuff I can easily lasso around. Okay, I think that's about as much as I can do with Magic Wand. But it's a digital art class, and you get to feel like a real artist, drawing all these outlines meticulously by hand. And you're watching this and you're saying, okay, I'm just not going to do feathers. It's probably a good choice. Now, there are people that make really good livings simply taking stock footage, stock photos of things like birds in flight. But they know in order to make that really useful to composite artists, especially digital artists, it's most helpful to have them shot on a blank background. Because if this was shot on a gray background or on a green screen, it would be very, very easy to select it out. This is more labor intensive because we don't want to pay for our source material. But it also gives us good practice with these tools. Now, if I'm working for a company and I'm doing creature design, they would have an account with these stock photo companies. And I could just request all their stock images of birds' wings. And they would already be cut out on white. They might even be transparent files where the background's already taken out completely. And that's the benefit of having sponsorship behind you. But artists always need to know how to be able to do it for themselves as well. There are also digital artists that create stock images, especially in the realm of 3D models, which Digital 2 is going to be working on starting next class. And we'll sell kind of head designs and things for 3D models to save a lot of the grunt work of starting from scratch with those. Now remember, you are not a slave to your reference. You decide how much of it to use. So if I wanted to, I could easily just change the shape of these wings. Well, I want to see what I have first. I can use my transform tools. I can warp them. I can stretch them because they're organic. That should still look pretty believable, as long as I'm sticking to the anatomy of my sketch. But what makes this so much more difficult than just putting landscape segments together with soft edges and atmosphere is that we want everything to be really sharp and clear. Just sharp and in focus doesn't mean that every line needs to be perfectly sharp, because sometimes we're seeing through something translucent, and so we'll have a soft edge. But we don't want it to have, any kind of outline around it or blurriness. And that's because we're going to be putting these creatures into our landscape environment. And at that point, we'll play with their focus and their atmosphere. So we don't want to limit our options there yet. So once I clean up the edges of these wings, the next thing I'll do is the refine edge. I'll select all the way around it, and then bite into it a little bit with the refined edge, and then also just slightly soften it with feathering. And that will get rid of some of those implied outlines or residual outlines from this selection process. We're also getting a lot of practice with zooming in and moving around our image. And that is incredibly important, because unless you're zooming in, you're not really seeing it at print resolution. And resolution only becomes more and more important as we learn more skills. It's the currency of raster images. So I'm getting a little bit sloppier now. But because it's organic textures, they're forgiving. If you have to extend a selection and zoom out and move around at the same time, you can actually do all of that at once. So I can kind of grow this selection. If I get to the edge, I want to keep going. I just hold down spacebar, I move it over, and then I start my selection from the exact same spot. So it's nice that they build all that capability in. That will help with digital painting later as well. How are we looking? All right, almost there. I'm hoping to use these talons. I don't want to erase anything I don't need from them. And then I actually might as well cut these out too. This will be a whole demo of just selecting and cutting out. I'm not sure what I'll do with the tail, so I'm not too concerned about that. All right, I can leave it there for now. All right, so now, done all that hard work, add back in the head and the clone stamp layer. I'm going to see what if I want to use that leg or not by erasing this. See if that anatomy makes sense. I think it can. I don't love that that leg is so covered up by this. So maybe we'll find some other leg reference to use. Okay, now I'm going to take all those three layers, the head and neck, the wings, which I'll label, and the clone stamp layer,